Hey everyone, I am here in Korea and I just got done with my Chinese class and I'm extremely mentally exhausted. My brain is completely fried. I think I'll try to play a little bit of the lesson that I did today, but really we're really just working on accent with the tones and the accents. It's really hard. I gotta say it's hard, but I find it nice and reassuring that the man that's teaching me says things that I say to people in my Japanese and my Korean podcast, and that's that, hey, everything's hard at first, but it gets easy. And the example that he gave me was riding a bicycle. He said, it was hard learning to ride a bicycle. It was extremely hard, but once you learn it, it's easy. And the example, the thing that he was trying to teach me at that point was that don't worry about what tone comes when because it happens to naturally. There's a rule, for example, that after a third tone, you can't have a third tone. If there's two, three tones in a row, you gotta make it a second tone. But he gave me an example, and I forgot which one it was, but he did two, three tones in a row, and then he said, "Now say it fast." It was like, "Wo my," like I sell, "Wo my." But then he said, "Now say it faster and faster." And basically, when I said it faster, it was like, "Wo my." It becomes a second tone like naturally. So that having the rule is kind of not important. And I learned Korean with a very strong, heavy Japanese accent, and I never worried about it, and it wasn't a problem because now 2 years later, everyone tells me my accent's really good, and every now and then it's not good, but we all slip. But I think that's exactly what's going to happen. When I first spoke Chinese, I was in Beijing. I was in Beijing for a month, and my friends who are very good at Chinese, Valentine, who's a role model for me, he speaks Chinese, he speaks Japanese. He made a joke when I was in China. I remember I was like, 我是美国人. Like everything was just fourth tone, and then him and Alex were like, yeah, just say everything fourth tone. That's good, and they were kind of ribbing me. So I think right now the methodology that I'm learning, it's only been my second class. It's just throw everything at you. I've learned how to say commands. I've learned how to say can you. I've learned how to say do you want to, do you not want to, and there's so many things that there's no possible way I can remember. I sat earlier today in a restaurant and I listened to the class again because we record every class, and I wrote down everything I could, and I realized, like, if I just show you the note, my notebook is crazy. You don't write the note so that you can learn from it. You write the note so that you can get it out of your head, because a lot of times you have it in your head. And also, one thing that I've learned with learning a language is don't have to know it the first time. If you hear it once, it's okay not to remember it. So these are the notes, and it's kind of a mix of English and some Korean. But of course, not only am I trying to learn Chinese, I'm trying to learn the Hanzi at the same time, and that also is a hell of a mental strain. But I think your brain responds in a certain way. If you push your brain to the limit, it's like when you're working out, right? It doesn't matter if you do this 100 times or you lift 100 times. It's that last lift that you can't do that really builds the muscle. And because I did one class 2 days ago, and then I was meeting a friend at 3:30 the next day. The teacher wanted me to move my class because he had a meeting, but I was meeting a friend, so I couldn't. So what happened was, inadvertently, I lengthened my class from 1 hour to an hour and 15 minutes. And what that did inadvertently is destroyed me, because that extra 15 minutes is extremely mentally taxing. And what happened was I stopped. My thought patterns stopped, and I just zoned in because I had no other option. And I don't know if you polyglots know exactly what I'm talking about. When you're in a class or when you're learning and you're focusing on that learning, this is what starts to happen. I notice my eyes start shutting up. So I'm like, and I'm speaking the Chinese, and I don't have enough brain processing power to keep my eyes open. And if my eyes are open, the entire room starts blackening. Like it's black. I'm blacking out, and I can only hear that little tunnel vision of what the teacher is saying. So I think it's a good thing, because in the end, eventually my brain will have time to process it. One final metaphor I like to think about when I'm doing the language is, when you first learn a language, it's like you put in a a really old 100 megahertz Pentium chip into your brain. And if you've ever done anything with computers, you'll know that if you send a lot of commands, like with your mouse, if you're clicking, the mouse can't keep up if the processor is slow. So what happens is, if you wait a little bit, eventually your mouse is moving or you're typing. Even though you're not typing anymore, the letters are starting to finally show up on the screen. And little by little, the buffer starts to go away. And the more that you learn a language, the less buffering you have because your processing power becomes automatic. There's certain things that right now, everything in the beginning of learning a language is complete resistance in the brain. There's 100% resistance. So everything you do is a struggle to get every word. But as you remember those words, and as they come out naturally without you actually trying to remember them, that's what repetition is the mother of knowledge. That's where that comes from. You repeat something so much, and people say rote memorization, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? They're wrong, because you do need to continually put those words into your brain. When I'm walking down the street, I speak to myself, not in Chinese yet, I speak to myself in Korean. I say the actions that I'm doing. I say, 지금 길을 걸어가요. 지금 집에 가요. Like, I'll say things like that, or I'll say something very complicated that I'm thinking to myself, just so that I can build up the no resistance factor. I want to remove the resistance. Because once you build the resistance, your brain will start working on the other things that it needs to normally process. And that's how your chip gets faster and faster and faster. And eventually you're doing hundreds, thousands of calculations in your one sentence, and you're getting better and better. And that's what happened with my Chinese. I only have 13 more classes because that's just how many days I have left in the weekdays where I can do this class. And when I go back to America, I'll continue. And I would say that when we're doing videos next year, or in October when I'm in Taiwan, which is my current plan, I will be doing, I'll start speaking more Chinese in the podcast. And eventually you'll probably see something like we do with Korean Talk. Maybe you'll see a Chinese Talk where I'm having conversation in Chinese. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that to say that if you're a polyglot like me, you already know this. And if you're aspiring to learn many languages, you need to know that the frustration is real and the frustration is necessary for the process. You have to get past all of the processing errors in order to process well. Anyway, that's all I have. I feel like I rambled. I think the topic of this show was processing power. That's it. I'll see you all, I guess, tomorrow. 再见.
아버지가 재미없잖아.
네.
아버지가 방에 들어가신다. 이렇게 앞에 거 이성으로만 변하다가 삼성, 또 앞에 거 나가다가 삼성, 앞에 거 나가다가 삼성, 이렇게 끝나는 거예요. 항상
띄어쓰기 간격
띄었을
전에는
때만 마지막만
삼성가 많아.
이동으로 다 하고 이렇게 되는 거예요. 이게 자동으로 그걸 갖다가 외우는 게 아니라 자연스러운 거예요. 自然的 자연스럽다 이 말이야. 자연스럽다.
다시.
자, 自然 자연스럽다. 한국말로 자연스럽다. 自然的 이렇게 하면 돼요. 자, 그럼 한번 오늘 또 공부해 볼게요.
네.
천천히. 비싸다. 꼬이. 이 모양. 꼬이마. 비싸냐? 꼬이마. 안 비싸냐? 부꼬이마. 아닐 부자는 아니라는 뜻이지. 사성 앞에 올 때는 이성으로 변해요. 사성 앞에는. 그것도 법칙이 아니야. 법이 아니야. 자연스러운 거야. 자연스러운 거야. 그러니까 북한. 봐봐. 북한. 힘들어. 북한. 이러면 북한마.